Yeah. Okay, sorry, I had to fix something. Yeah. But yeah, for sure, that definitely it's been a big change coming up to this. But even like this summer, basically spent the entire summer saving up for a ring. So that was kind of all of my Lego money for several months. Yeah.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
So what do you do for work?
So I'm still in school. I have 10 months left in my degree, and then I'll
Okay.
graduate bachelor's in finance. Um, so the plan is to go work for either Nationwide Insurance or Chase after that, um, and do some sort of finance job just to get into the field. But the long term goal is to eventually be doing financial planning. So that's what I'd like
Okay.
to. In the meantime, I've kind of just hop into different jobs. In the summers, I'm still spending it in Columbus with my parents, and then I'll also do time in Indiana, like I'm doing right now, working at a Walmart order filling. So it's like a factory job. So it pays good, but super tiring because of all the physical labor.
Yeah, I mean makes total sense. There's a different satisfaction to those kind of jobs though. Like I was a janitor going through school, and so it was awesome. I'd never want to be a janitor again, but having the experience was great. And doing those kind of manual labor, physical jobs where at the end of the day you have something to show for what you did. Sometimes it's hard in the virtual world when you're like I answered like 150 emails and moved a bunch of files around, but I don't really have anything to show for what I did today.
Yeah. That's kind of like my summer job. I work at a pool, but I've kind of through high school worked my way up to like almost a manager status. So I kind of just answer calls, schedule lessons for people, and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I totally get that. So we can transition then into, I guess, why Lego is what this is titled. But how did you get your start in Lego collecting?
Oh, so that's a long time ago. So I actually talked about it just a little bit in my last video. I started with just a few like random 2x4 bricks, just from somewhere. And then one day when I was little, my parents brought home the Galaxy Explorer used, but in the box from a garage sale they'd stopped by. I think they paid like $5 or $7 for this Galaxy Explorer, and it was not just the Galaxy Explorer; it was stuffed full of other like parts, and so it was just like this treasure trove. Like we had the instructions for the Galaxy Explorer, and it was missing half of the first page and whatever, but it just went from there. We started playing with whatever we could get our hands on, and it was funny because unfortunately, we moved there after it closed, but there used to be a Samsonite Lego factory in the town that I grew up in, and it closed down just before I moved there. I was 3 or 4, and so it was like a ton of my friends or their families had gotten Lego because they used to just sweep up, whatever fell off the line, they'd sweep it up and sell it in bags as just like bulk cast-offs, right? So all these people that I knew had tons of Lego in their collections, in their, toy rooms or whatever as kids. And so, we played a lot of Lego when I was a kid, and the classic space was awesome. I really enjoyed that, but really I fell in love with Castle. And so when the castle themes, when I found those, that was the good stuff. My brother was more into the space, and I was more into the castle stuff. So, I mean, it worked out really great because we actually, one of my favorite sets ever is the Forestman's Camouflage Outpost.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And he actually got that for Christmas the same year I got the Black Falcon's Fortress.
Oh, wow.
And so like we played with those a bunch, and he kind of was like, whatever. Eventually we split the collection, and I took all the castle and pirate stuff, and he took all the space and city stuff, which, was hard later on when I was like, ooh, that Galaxy Explorer is pretty cool. But, So that's where I started, and then had a dark age, kind of a soft dark age, kind of a gray age almost. I'm one of those lucky kids that my parents didn't throw out my Lego when I went to college and moved out. So I went to college, went and lived in Russia for a couple of years, went back to college, got married. And that whole time my parents had held on to my Lego in the basement. And so, then we moved out of state when I joined the Army, and just stuck it in the back of the moving truck with everything else. And it was a few years later that we moved in Maryland to a base up in Maryland, and just like 5-minute drive away was the first Lego store I'd ever been in.
Oh.
And so I went there, and like it was okay, right? Because at that point I had what were they, 6 and 7-year-old, and so it was like, oh yeah, we're going to the Lego store for my kids, right? So we went in, right? Exactly. And at first, really, I for them, I was buying stuff for them, and I was talking about how cool it was, and we'd build stuff, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull my stuff out of the closet and mess around with it. And then like the Arctic stuff in the like 2014 time range was what got me, because I saw like the huskies and the polar bears and like the saber-toothed tiger and stuff, and it was too much. I couldn't resist anymore.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, my dark ages were only like 3 or 4 years long. It was like the end of high school and the first year of college. I really didn't have a long one, which is fortunate. But also, like, before they started, I wasn't buying much Lego just because didn't really have the money to. But
Right.
It's been a lot of fun to get back into. And luckily, I still have a few things from when I was younger that are still like intact and my brothers didn't destroy. I was just reviewed this on the channel, but we've got like the Rancor set still, so that's one of my
that's a dream set for me. I can't justify paying whatever the price is right now, but I dream someday of having some of those sets, because by the time I got in 2014, I had missed basically the entire Star Wars period. Like I had, my parents gave us every year, just in our stocking, they'd give us little Lego sets. So I have like the Ewok Attack one, like the early one with like the vinyl winged hang glider. Like I got those when I was still living at home and stuff, but I missed the entire first 12 years of Star Wars other than that and one other little set. And so I got in 2014, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much cool stuff. But I was also, since it was for the kids still at that point, it was still for the kids. And so it took a lot, like, because there was kind of that stigma of like, and it's funny because my 10-year-old still says it to me, Dad, you're weird. You're an adult that plays with Lego. Like, okay. But, it's become more normal now. Whereas, for you, it didn't get into that, like, really it's weird for adults to play with Lego as much. It's been more normalized for you in your lifetime. So, but that, wrong side. There it is right there. That is my Skull's Eye schooner from when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
Like, I love that, and I'm super lucky to have what I have. But yeah, that Rancor, like that is one of the sets, a white whale. I'd love to get the original Jabba's Palace and the Rancor at some point and put them up, because I mean I grew up with Star Wars. I sound like an old dude right now, but it's not a lie. I'm 43, so the first ones came out just before I was born. Return of the Jedi, I was alive for, and like. I never really understood the Star Wars, Star Trek competition, because my dad's an electrical engineer, super nerd. And so we just loved all the nerdy things. We watched Star Trek, we watched Star Wars, we watched Battlestar, we watched, you go down the list and we watched it all.
Yeah, I agree. There's never really been a competition in my mind. It's like definitely Star Wars is on a whole nother level, but Yeah, this came out in 2012, so that makes sense. It would have been right before you got into Star Wars. I'll tell you the hard thing with this is those fingers on him, those oftentimes break. So a lot of resellers
Oh, that sucks.
have the fingers intact. So that's the hardest part to get about him. But I mean
Yeah,
that
I've seen that those fingers are like $10 a piece or something stupid like that.
yeah, no, it's crazy. But yeah, definitely worth it. I actually my first or my second set I ever got was the original Jabba sail barge, and I love that one too. That's been a great one to have.
I'm super hoping that the rumors for later this year are true, because I think it's probably going to be about the same price to get a new in-box UCS Java sail barge as it would be to go back and get the original Java sail barge. So it's like, all right, that's a better deal.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that one because they I don't know what figs are gonna do for it. I'm guessing Java, but I have no idea who the other one will be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they could go a lot of different ways. I'm really hoping that that there's the slave Leia or the Hut Slayer Leia in it, because it's just so iconic. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I like I say, grew up watching it, and like, I don't know, every kid that was my age thought Carrie Fisher in that bikini was like. So
I mean, that was the kids my age too when we watched it. But,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, and it's just so like her choking him out with the chain, like the whole thing, like it's just so iconic.
Yeah. With what they said, if they don't do it, it's gonna be sad because like the Bausch Leia is cool when she's like a bounty hunter, but it just doesn't make any sense for the scene.
Yeah, yeah, and that's that's one of my favorite helmets all time. I only own these two. Oh no, I found the Scout Trooper helmet over here the other day.
Yeah,
like somebody had returned it at my local Walmart, and I picked it up for like $30.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I was like, I'll take it, no questions asked.
Yeah, I think this is the best or one of the best ones. Honestly, I think it's a little underrated.
Yeah, absolutely. They nailed the shaping on it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. It's kind of simple too, which I like because a lot of them, like the Stormtroopers, just got too many studs and stuff going on. But
yeah. And so those are the only three that I've picked up, and I purposely picked them up because they were the ones that I thought were great. You know, people talk about the Mando one or the Boba Fett one, and I'm like, yeah, but I love it. It's awesome.
You know, I like that one a lot.
I don't know how like Boba has gotten like so much pub, because seriously, he was in what, like 10 seconds of movie clip ever in the whole like Star Wars universe, and he's like this huge cult, villain, and like it doesn't make any sense, but the heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah. It's honestly a really cool one. But so I just looking, what would you say is your favorite set you have behind you?
That is a tough question.
And I see you got some of the Bricklink ones too, right?
So I've got from the very original over here the Bricklink designer program before it was the AFOL designer program or whatever. I have the Lego Story from that original one is the only one that I got, and that was amazing because the prices on them were like dirt cheap. Came with physical instructions. I actually was planning on buying in the first wave that they ever did of the AFOL designer program through Bricklink. Or no, that was the first one, was the AFOL designer program. Now it's the Bricklink designer program. Got it backwards. But that castle that they came out with the first wave that caused all the ruckus. Like I literally got off work early and came out to the parking lot to buy it where I had cell phone reception. And this was 40 minutes after it had gone live and it was gone. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like nothing. 40 minutes? Really? What happened here? And so since then, I didn't buy anything else in the wave because there was nothing that inspired me. And now the new ones that they've released, like that castle looks awesome. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but like it's 400 bones. Like,
Oh, is it?
I think 380 is the price. And so it's like, oh, that's a hard ask, $400.
There was the smaller one was only like 80 or something, right? The Shack or something.
Yeah. There's one that's smaller.
I was thinking about maybe that one because that's a little more affordable for
Right.
Brickworld.
Well, and it's funny for me to say stuff like that with, like, I got the UCS Falcon right here, but I don't know. I actually got this on a crazy deal. I picked it up new. I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was Zavvi. Maybe it was somewhere else. I paid $600.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, almost everything that you see here was bought at least 20% off, much of it 50% off. Like, I got 5 kids, I have a budget, clearly, a decent sized budget. But if I want to get the things that I want, like right now, I want the UCS AT-AT. Like, that was iconic growing up too. Like, Jabba's sail barge, UCS AT-AT, Millennium Falcon. Like, that's like the holy grails for me from Star Wars, right? From the OT. Yeah. And so this, it just, I want the AT-AT, and I actually have enough snowboys to fill it up, because I picked those up as they've gone on crazy sales here and there for like $10 or whatever. But that one I'm waiting to strike when it drops a little bit somewhere. If I can get it for $650 rather than 800 something, then I'll strike on that.
I'm telling you, Facebook Marketplace has been a gold mine for me. Like, just last weekend, I got the new T6 for only $50, and
that's awesome.
Everything. So for like a brand new set that hasn't made clearance anywhere, I was very happy to get that. But,
but back to your actual question, what's my favorite one? Like, honestly, that Skull's Eye schooner over here has got to be one of my favorites, like, all time, and that's why it's up there, because it's just, I mean, I played with hours with that thing. It has the monkeys. It's got cannons that actually fire. Like, it's a ship. It's pirates. Like, I've had that sucker for getting close to 30 years now, and love it. And actually, that one was one of the ones that got my wife started to like Lego. Because sorry about the dog. A few years back, I was bored at one point, and I'm like, this was when the collection was way smaller. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to build every set that I have. This is back when I had like maybe 200 sets, something like that. And most of them were like 80s or 90s, little tiny sets, like 50 pieces. Like, I had a bunch of the like, what would be today the equivalent of the $5 poly bag or $9 or $10, small box stuff. I had a ton of that from the 80s and 90s, because that's what I get for birthday or Christmas or whatever. Would be like at the time they were like $2 and $5 or something like that. And so, I had a ton of those little ones, and so I went through and I built all this stuff, and that one my wife saw the instructions for, and she's like, "Can I build that one?" I was like, yeah, absolutely. Why would I tell you no? And so she built that, and she was like, "That's really cool." Like, she'd seen Lego, of course. We grew up in the same era, but she'd never really played with it much. And so she did that one. And then when the Botanicals came out, she was hook, line, and sinker. And now it's funny because she's actually sitting right above me up here in our dining room, and working on a mock of a castle that she's planning on making, or not a castle, sorry, a hospital that she's planning on. She's working on a 32 by 32 base plate to make like a modular hospital, but she's like, I might need to put this on a 48 by 48 so I can have like a pull through for the ambulance bay and things like that. I'm like, yes, excellent.
So you have the prime story there. You took her from like zero to hero in a sense.
Yeah. And it's funny because she's like, I can't really, she's like, I don't know about building my own stuff, but she'll see stuff and like she'll be like, well, I want to make, because our 5-year-old has been into Lego for as long as he could stand up. He'll come over. He would sit on my lap while I was building stuff when he was little tiny, all kinds of stuff. And then as he got older, he'd be like, "Dad, can I play with that one?" Like, "Sure, bud." And like most stuff, it's like, "All right, you can go ahead and play with that." But some of the figures, as they get more rare or expensive, I'm like, "Oh, that one's like, ooh." So my wife actually, the Sanctum Sanctorum showdown that opens up dollhouse style.
Mm-hmm.
I was building that one day, and my dude was like, "Dad, that's so cool," and he was playing with all the play features and stuff. And then eventually I break everything down virtually to use the parts for other stuff.
Yeah.
And so I broke it down and put it into my collection, used a bunch of the pieces for different stuff. And he was like, "Dad, I want to play with that one." And my wife was like, "Well, I don't know where the pieces are, but we have a ton." Like, we've gotten so much Lego from like garage sales and stuff, just like bulk lots. And it's great because like over to this side, we have like a big free play area for the kids with like just mats on the floor and then bins that they can pull whatever pieces out. So my wife went through all of our free play Lego for the kids and found pieces to just build it. It's not the right colors or whatever, but she built a really cool looking Sanctum Sanctorum showdown that he carried around for probably, it finally met its demise with a fall down the stairs after like 6 months, but like he'd take it upstairs, he'd take it downstairs, he'd carry it all over the place. She got all the features working without the right pieces. She recreated the different features where the window blasts out and things like that. And like, "Yeah, sure, dear, you don't do your own thing. You can't build." Like, yeah, no, just you can do it.
For that age, great. That's a long time. That was my biggest problem when I was like 8 or 10, like to display my sets. But my brothers always seemed to find a way of coming and just plopping them right on the floor in 1,000 pieces. So that was definitely a struggle growing up.
Right.
Yeah, but back to even that schooner, that's the pirate ships are something I really love. One of my white whales right now is that Metalbeard's cow ship or whatever from the Lego movie.
Sea cow, yeah.
Yeah, that one's so cool.
Yeah, that one's really neat. That's, oh man. And it's funny because you mentioned the Lego movie, and like that was one of the things that kind of like normalized, it was making fun of the adult who like glued his Lego together, right? Yep. But like, oh, adults can play with Lego, it's cool, it's okay. So
thank for that.
Right.
Yeah. Those are even growing up, those were some of my favorite movies, and I think they still are so great. They just, especially for like a collector, they're just so fun, and like the jokes just still hit to this day.
Yeah. Well, and it also, looking at how dad enjoys the Lego versus the little kids enjoy the Lego, and then in the later one, siblings and how everybody interacts with Lego differently. It's awesome. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, that was sweet to see. It's definitely a dynamic that still kind of exists, because I still get people in my comment sections every now and then like, "Why are you talking about plastic like it's a toy and stuff?" And
right.
Like, there's a whole community for it. Look at like the biggest guys have millions of followers in this, so like there's obviously enough adults doing it, and you can look at the analytics for YouTube. Like, I see most of my people are 25 to 40, like somewhere in that age group, and then a little bit outside of both of those. But
yeah, and it's kind of crazy, I don't know how you got started on YouTube. That'd be really interesting to hear from you, but I've been thinking about it for several years now. Like, I probably should have jumped in during the COVID craze. I found that was actually my introduction to the online Lego community was during COVID. I found Beyond the Bricks quarantine cast, and from there, like, kind of branched out and started, meeting people and finding different streams. And so ever since then, I've thought about like, I should start a Lego YouTube channel. Clearly I can talk,
Yeah.
probably too much. But never got around to it until just a few months ago. So what got you started? What
Yeah.
brought you to the YouTube game?
Well, this was actually my second pinned topic to talk about, so this is a perfect transition. But kind of similar. I just have always like wanted to post YouTube videos because I like the long format type of videos more than TikTok or like Instagram posts or anything like that. They're my favorite things. I've always liked watching and wanted to do it. Um, but I never really had like a niche to specifies in, and I could never figure that out. I toyed it with the idea for years and just couldn't think of anything. And then one day, um, I was honestly, I think it was either Life Bricks or M&R, and they're just like, anyone who's interested in Lego should just go for it. And I was like, I never thought about doing a channel to talk about Legos, but like this is something I know front and back, in and out. So like I could definitely do this and do it hopefully somewhat successful. So I started the channel. My first upload I think was 8 months ago this month. So whatever that would have been, like June or somewhere early last summer. But I've only consistently been posting for like 3 to 4 months now. So I've been doing about 2 videos a week. And then the last 2 months, we've been doing about videos 4 to 5 times a week. And I've found shorts help me a lot too. Just to post shorts, it gets me a lot more exposure to people that then come and watch my long form videos. So luckily, we're about to hit 300 subscribers. We
Oh,
should
nice.
this week with how things are going. So that's awesome. The goal, it's kind of rushed, but 1,000 by Brickworld. That's the dream. So hope
Awesome.
there. But yeah, I just found, at least for me, consistency is the number one thing. Like the quality, I'm just slowly gotten better. I'm looking into buying a camera next to take it like to that next level. But I've gotten a mic and just kind of slowly bought stuff I need as I'm doing it, and mainly focused on the consistency of how I post. But that'll
Nice.
be my start to YouTube, and I've really enjoyed it so far because I've met a lot of people who come to my channel or I go to their channel, and so it's been a really great thing to have.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just throwing a link to this real quick on my community page, just in
Oh,
case.
yeah, there's a way to post these live streams to 2 different accounts, but when I looked into it, I think I would have needed your like Google password and all your Google information. So
Yeah,
I
no worries.
didn't quite want to do that, but yeah, definitely do that. And I've had a few videos get like a few shorts get close to 10,000, and then a few
Oh, wow.
videos get 2 to 3,000 now. So that's been really, really encouraging as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm nowhere near that successful. I'm 5 videos in and actually trying to figure out what happened because I've grown each time. My first video got like 60 or 80 views, and I think most of those were my kids. They discovered that I'd recorded a YouTube video, and I think that was mostly them like going on and watching and laughing at dad. But this last one I put out on Monday has gotten like 15 views so far, and I'm like, wow, what happened? Like I thought I was sort of starting to figure out how it works. So it's funny.
I honestly don't know. I still have videos every now and then that just like bomb and have like 30 views. Like I would average about 500 views a video now, but I just every now and then they just kind of sink, and I don't really know why. But my most popular video now is actually one I did on the 332nd battle pack. And I kind of trashed it because I personally don't really like it with all the helmet holes and everything. And at least mine had misprints, so mine was like really bad.
That
But
sucks.
I had people going. I had like 40 comments on that of people just hating on it, people getting in arguments in the chat. Like I've never seen anything like it, and I was like, "Hold up, just slow it down, guys. Like, what's going on here?"
Yeah. It's funny because like the I know there's a lot, especially with like big clone fans, like the helmet holes drive them nuts. I'm kind of agnostic to that, but I also grew up in the 80s and 90s where like our toys did not look near as good as they do now. Like, so I'm a little bit more agnostic to the helmet holes. Certainly, I think they look better without the helmet holes, but it's not something that bothers me as much as it does other people. And not to say that that's right or wrong. It's just funny to hear how drastic of reactions there are in the community to it to me. Cause I'm like, yeah, it looks worse, but
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I never had a problem like the original phase 1 clones with like the fin that had them. I never had a problem with those.
right.
I think partly it's obviously just like kind of a hype train. Like people go so crazy about it and stuff. But it also is like we've had 2 332nd troopers now, and the one that didn't have the helmet holes, like you just put them by each other, and it's like one's just so much better.
Yeah,
It,
I mean, objectively, it looks better.
yeah, so it's always just fun to see people get in debates about it, and like if you like it, I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
Especially I like it on like named figures who need it and need the visors and stuff. But it just is a funny debate to see people get into.
Yeah, but absolutely. That's, that kind of brings me to a thought that I've had about Lego for a long time. One of the things that attracted me to the Lego community is there's so many different ways to enjoy Lego.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to many conventions or?
I went to one in Indianapolis. It was BrickCon, I think, years ago. But that was
okay. So I've been kind of hot and heavy into the conventions since I went to my first one in 2021. Just as things were opening up, I went to Brick Fair, Virginia, and really enjoyed that one. I had actually just barely found the lug in my area and been hanging out with them for like 2 months at that point. And so I went, participated in a collab, like one of my very first adult mocks put into there. And then the next year I went to that and Brickworld Chicago because I knew that a bunch of people that I knew from online were going to be there, but and I wanted to actually meet people in person. And then the third year, last year, 2023, I went to Brick Fair, Virginia, and they opened a subsidiary Brick Fair Fredericksburg, which is about an hour and a half south of where the regular Brick Fair, Virginia is. So I went to both of those, went to Brickworld Chicago, and then I went to Brick Slopes last year as well in Utah.
Oh, that's cool.
It was amazing. I mean, it's so much fun, and it's great to see because like I'm not a big Technic guy, but I appreciate what it does. And so, one of my good friends has been like great ball contraption guys, like just way into it, builds these incredible modules for the great ball contraption that I'm like, I don't know how you figure that out. Like I can do basic gearing and stuff, but they'll make stuff do just like all kinds of crazy things. And then I have friends that are like mosaics. My friend that introduced me to the guy at Brickworld Chicago before she was there does mosaics pretty much purely. She does some small like vignette builds and things, but like she is known for mosaics at this point. And so just seeing all the different ways that it can be enjoyed, I love it. And for the most part, the Lego community is so encouraging. So like,
I know.
we do the things on streams or in chats or whatever, and we'll argue about helmet holes or not, or we'll argue about, clones suck or, OT sucks or, whatever. But in general, everybody is pretty chill with each other and great to work with. And, every community has their drama, but, it's one of the things that I really have loved about the Lego community, because I don't know about you, but I did tabletop miniature wargaming previously.
Okay.
Warhammer 40K, Flames of War, Warhammer Fantasy, and one thing that the tabletop wargaming community is famous for is toxic neckbeards, like just people that are totally like just angry and crusty all the time. Doesn't matter what happens, they're always crapping on everything and everyone, and it's just like, wow. So I came from that culture a couple of years later into the Lego community, and was just like, wow, this feels totally different. People are just here to have fun and like make friends and be kind to each other and encourage each other. Like, I love it.
Yeah, no, it's been great. That's been my biggest thing too, is like, I mean, you get the hate comments, but none of them are ever directed towards you. So
Right.
it's a very different type of community and something I definitely love. Are you excited for that new? I know it's a little different, but the new Dungeons and Dragons set.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like I said before, Castle has always been close to my heart. So anything fantasy, Castle adjacent, and the last 2 years have been good to us. Like Castle Lego fans, like I remember, it's funny, and one of my Lego regrets was, I went into my dark age, and the first time, so when we got to Maryland, we went to a movie theater, and the Lego store was right across the hallway in the mall that we were at.
Yeah.
And so we walked in, and that was the first Lego store I'd ever been into, right? And I was looking around, and I saw the Medieval Market Village. No, it was the Mill Village Raid with the goats.
Yeah.
Was on the shelf, and I was like, okay, that's pretty neat. I'm gonna have to come back and get some Castle stuff at some point. But we bought a couple sets for the kids, but it was not okay for me to buy it at that point. I hadn't gone through the mental process, and so a couple months later, I came back. We were at the mall buying shoes or something for the kids, and I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna stop in. And they had discontinued in between those two visits, and there was no longer a Mill Village Raid, and so like. Every time people were like, oh yeah, we had goats, whatever. People in my lug bulked goats back in the day and have like 50 of them or whatever. And I'm like, just absolutely dying. And so I did end up, before they really skyrocketed in price, I actually on Craigslist, not Facebook Marketplace, I picked up Mill Village Raid, the Medieval Marketplace, and I can't remember the name of the jousting one that was out in the similar time period. I got all three of them new in box for $200.
That's a steal. Oh my gosh.
Right. And so, and it was funny because like goats at that point were like $30 or $40, and I was like, I can't justify that, can't do it. And then so I found that, and I was like, I basically have to buy this, right? I mean, I'm getting everything else for $120.
Yeah.
So
the goats were only in that set for the longest time until we got this new CMF, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and still a different color.
So it looks to be there are a few slight differences on the mold, but it is basically exactly the same. It's just all white. The old one has like nougat print spots on the sides. Gotcha. But other than that, it looks to be virtually identical.
Yeah. That's cool though. That's what I'm also into, like the Lego investing side of Lego. I really find that fascinating, especially being a future finance person. That kind of sticks out to me. So it always is kind of like with that new Rex, and then seeing the value of the one in the Venator go down. It's like, oh no, like what are you doing? So like with the new Thrawn coming out, hoping he's different than the old one. Obviously he should be, but it's always sad to see like remade figs come out and then just completely trash the old value of the originals.
And sadly, I'm a little bit for that because, like I said, that first
for it.
15 years of Star Wars, like I missed out on, right? I didn't start getting Star Wars sets really until like 2018, 2019, something like that. And so like I see where investors are coming from with it, but I'm like, come on, baby. Even if it goes from like $200 to like $120, I'm like, okay, I can do the mental gymnastics to get myself to spend $100 on a minifig. $200 is a lot.
Yeah. I've never spent more than, I spent too much on this too. Shock T I spent 60 on. That's the most I've spent on one individual fig though. I have some that have just like luckily gone up from old sets. I have like the P1 Captain Wolf. That's now like $200 or something.
Oh,
crazy.
Wow. Nice.
Just still have him in perfect condition from when I was a kid. But yeah, some of those figs, I'm starting to look into displays because I'm like, it's just too expensive to have it sitting out in the open.
Yeah, and you don't have kids that are trying to like maul them. Like the one that I've spent the most on is the Silver Centurion Iron Man suit.
Okay.
I got that one new in the poly bag, and I spent like, I want to say like $85 or $90 on it. And so that was the most at that point, and still to this point, that I've spent on a fig. But I had every single other Iron Man fig,
yeah,
except for that one, and I was like, oh, that's a lot. But I did it because I was like, okay, I want all of the Iron, and that one's such a cool suit. So
yeah, that's a great one, and that's the thing. Marvel's a little easier because Star Wars, the like a normal fig is like $50. It seems like nowadays. Whereas like Marvel, that's some of the highest end figs you're gonna ever see. So
yeah,
it's definitely the hardest theme to get into if you've missed stuff, but it's also kind of makes it a little more fun to collect.
yeah. Well, and it's funny, like, so we, like I said before, we buy, at garage sales and stuff just to get bricks for the kids to do whatever they want with, because like we'll buy them sets as well, but they just rip everything apart and want to build what they want to build. And so it's like, okay, I could buy you a set for $40, or I can get somebody's bin, like the 50-gallon Rubbermaid tote or whatever, for $40 at a garage sale. And so going through some of those, whenever I bring them home, like I kind of sift through them before I set the kids loose now. Because one of the original ones that I got, one of the very first ones, I didn't really look through it very well. Like, we went through and we pulled out trash and everything else, and then we washed them. We put them in like mesh bags and stick them in the washing machine and let them run through, and then lay them out on a blanket and let them dry. But I didn't pay really close attention to one of the first bulk lots that I got, and there was an Iron Patriot in there.
Wow.
I found the helmet missing the face mask later on, and like the torso that my 3-year-old at the time, or 2-year-old at the time, had found and had like chewed on, and like I was like, oh no, that hurts. And so I'm a lot more careful looking through the bulk lots now. But
well, that's what. Do you know what Whatnot is? You heard of that
yeah.
app? So I sell on there. I haven't done it in a few months, but I was selling on there for like pretty consistently for a while. I know very little about Ninjago, but I had like the blue. I think his name's Jay, but the blue ninja. It was like some variant of him. I sold it for like $6 because I thought it was worthless, and then everyone in the chat started freaking out. Apparently, it was like almost $100 figure, and I just $6. So I was like, oh, no.
Like gave it away. Yeah.
Like just handed it away for free. But I mean, I just don't know Ninjago at all. So like when I looked up the figure to get like a price match, I just didn't even know the variant was a thing. But that one always just is like a knife in the heart for sure.
Yeah. So if you're doing that, are you familiar with the website Brickignize?
No.
So there's a website, Brickignize. They don't have an app, but if you pull it up on your phone, you can actually scan like pieces or figures, and it will tell you, like, even if you just have part of a minifig, like their head or a set of legs or whatever, you can scan it, and it'll give you like results on what it thinks it is. And so that's super handy when, like, one of my buddies told me about it, and I use it on the bulk lots now when I'm like, okay, I think this is what this is, but go and scan it, and it like, and it's really quick and pretty accurate. So that you should use that.
It was, I'll write that down for next time.
I believe it's brickignize.com. Let me make sure I have the right. Yeah. So I'll throw that in the chat real quick.
Brick economy, but that'll be great to use for sure.
Yeah. So brickignize.com. And that's great for anybody to use. Oh, it failed to post. All right, we'll try that again.
Yeah, I'll check that out for sure. So you literally just take a picture of it, and that's all you got to do?
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
So, yeah, it works super slick. I was like, no way. There's no way that this will work. And I had a pile of figs that, like, just random Star Wars. So you know how it is when you get, like, a pile of clone bodies, and you're like, all right, is this the phase 1 gunner? Is this the phase 2 gunner? Like, I don't know. They all look a lot the same. Like, and I took pictures of them and it was like, oh yeah. And it showed the difference when I just had a couple of torsos from, what's her name? Like Eden Verso and like the Shadow Troopers or whatever that go with her. And like their torsos are really very similar. And I took pictures of them and it identified the difference between them.
Oh wow!
I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
because
like
that would
other part of the community that's kind of crazy is you have all these like businesses set up around it. Like you got
yeah,
that, got all the various like display and light places. You have the places now they're selling vacuums to dust your Legos, like entire businesses being run and successfully at that off of this.
yeah,
So
yeah. Hey, Cody, Captain Cody, that Temple of the Golden Idol is awesome. Like, absolutely pick that up before it goes away. Like, it is one of the best display. Like, the Star Wars vignette sets are nice. That one blows them out of the water.
yeah, it does. I'm texting some guy on Facebook Marketplace actually about getting it for 75. So I'm hoping that through. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Pick up there.
Unfortunately, my area has a lot of people who know about Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and stuff. And so like you got to be Johnny on the spot. You can find good deals still, but you got to be Johnny on the spot. Like I have buddies in the lug that basically all day just have it pulled up in a browser window, and so they'll find good stuff.
Wow.
Fairly regularly, once or twice a month, they'll like hit a jackpot, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. I hit one insane jackpot. There's usually not deals in my area, so I have to drive about an hour north to Fort Wayne or an hour south to Indianapolis to get them. But I hit this one in Fort Wayne that was just insane. It was $250. And like I'm still piecing some of the sets together. Like I got the medieval blacksmith right there. That was a part of it. But all the sets were there with all the pieces. They just like were in boxes, unassembled. So I got the Ninjago City, the medieval castle, Winnie the Pooh, Groot. What else was there? There was a Santa's Village, that winter one, the Tree House, the Star Wars mosaic, and probably I don't know 25 bins this big of like assorted pieces for mock building. I think I have a video on it. It's like really low in my channel, but it was like after I valued everything, it was like $2,000 to $3,000 of Lego somewhere in there, and I paid $250. So I was like, that's my
awesome
deal thus far. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you'll find stuff, and like the other day, I was just driving down the street and saw a garage sale stop by, and I asked them like, hey, do you guys have any Lego? And they were like, no, but we have a neighbor that's 2 streets down. This was last summer. They're like, yeah, there's a neighbor 2 streets down. We saw Lego out earlier today when we walked past his house. And so I went, and they had actually just closed the garage door. Like it just cleaned everything up there. It was one of their kids' birthday. And so that like I say, I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. So I went up and I knocked on the door, and I was like, hey, your neighbor said that you guys had some Lego. I'd be interested. And they're like, we're actually on our way out the door for our kid's birthday party. But, if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, are you available tomorrow? Can I stop by tomorrow afternoon? And so I went back the next day, and it was funny because I walked in, they opened the door. I walked in, they're like, yeah, they're in the garage. We went out to the garage, and there is like a bin of like just rando minifigs, right?
Yeah.
And so I looked, and it looked like a few good things on top. And I was like, so what do you want for it? What are you looking for the figs? And they're like, about $2 a fig. And I'm like, how many figs do you think you have? They're like, probably like around 100. I was like, okay, pulled out $200. And the dad was like, no, that's too much. We'll take 150. I'm like, listen, I'll give you $200. You don't have to make change. And I walked out, and that's where I got most of the Iron Man suits that I have. Like it had the scuba one. It had the Starburst, the space one. It had the, I can't remember everything that was in there, but it was like, and then it had the the Batman set, like the UCS Batmobile with like the hard rubber cape one. That Batman and the figures were in there. And like I ended up selling like maybe 4 or 5 of the figs from there that paid the $200, and I kept all the rest of the figs. And so I was like, and so it's just random stuff like that. You go on a real dry spell where you stop at garage sales and like nothing. And then like once or twice a year, you find something like that. And it's like, okay, worth it. All the way worth it. Cause I figure when I counted it all up, and I still have some of the figs that like some of the kind of $2, $3, $4 figs that I haven't all the way figured out yet. And it's been almost a year now, but like I figured 100 figs average probably $10 or $15 a piece when you start looking across it. Cause I mean, bananas. And so same kind of thing. Like I paid 10% of what this is worth.
It's honestly like more fun too, because you have like a story behind it then. A lot of times, like I love picking up a good sealed set, but it's just you don't have the story behind it. It's like you're kind of creating memories. Actually, I know Sean talks about that a lot too on the podcast, but like that's also a big thing is like if you have a fun story behind it, then it just makes it that much more special. Like I have Winnie the Pooh is one of my favorite sets I have, and it's not even that it's like that good of a set. I do love the set, but I got it from someone that worked at the Lego store. So it was actually the one that they used on display when it was like out and being sold. So just having that story behind it is like awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Stuff like that is so cool. Like, and you're right. Like having a story that's tied to the set, like my Galaxy. So the Galaxy Explorer that I have in the other room is not the one that I grew up with as a kid. My brother has that one. Yeah. But like having that story that like, this is my first Lego set, like actual set. I had some bricks before, but this is the first set that I had as a kid. Like having those kind of stories, like just priceless. It makes them mean a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm trying. Do you know, are you familiar with the original battle pack with like the little clone walker and the 4 just phase 1 clones?
Yeah.
That was the first set I ever got. So I got to go back in. I want to buy a sealed one of that one. I don't really usually keep sealed sets, but that one I want sealed.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not a sealed set guy either. I kind of feel bad when sets are sealed because to me, Lego's still a toy. Like,
yeah,
I play with it. My kids play with it, and so virtually everything that I have, I've opened, regardless. Like that Silver Centurion, opened it up. Like It was sealed in the poly bag. I opened it up. And I have it with my one of the videos I want to do soon is I built a custom Hall of Armor recently for all of my Iron Man suits, and so I got to do a video of that one. And I've got them all up there, and it's just like and for the most part, most of the figs in there, I've had to tell my dude, like my 5-year-old, like okay, there's like these 3 or 4 that are off limits. You got to leave those ones alone, but the rest of them, he'll come and it's crazy because like my parents were over watching my kids one day. They came out to visit, and my wife and I went out on a date, and he was down there playing with my figs. And I told my mom, like he can play with pretty much any of these ones. These couple of them are off limits because they're just too expensive. Like don't. And so it was funny because he had been playing with one of the like just kind of regular-ish ones. And it was one with the trans blue head on it, right? And so he'd been playing with it. He'd been flying it all over the house, battling with it, doing all kinds of things. And at one point, he lost the head, and he was just heartbroken. Like, I lost Daddy's head for his guy, and he's like, "Wait a minute, I know I have one." So he went and he dug through the free play Lego and found one and replaced it and put it back. And so I'm like, "Okay, you're responsible, whatever." And I ended up finding the head later and gave it back to him. But that day also I went and I had found the newest Hall of Armor set. I'd found one of them at Costco with the Groot on like a clearance for like $30. So it was like stealing at that point, right? And so I popped it open. I'm like, "Here, dude, you can have all the Iron Mans from this set. Like, go ahead. I don't even care. You were so responsible at 4 years old that like, go." And he was just stoked, and he ran around all day with those guys and was showing grandma and grandpa, like, look, dad gave me my very own Iron Mans. Like, and he already had 2 or 3, but he was just like, I got my very own that I can do whatever I want with.
That's another part of Lego, is it just like, since it fits every age group, it just is like the best possible collectors and toy thing possible. I mean, one of my favorite thing about sets like this one, I just got the Millennium Falcon. It's like an awesome play set, but it's also great for displaying. So like it's a perfect like mesh between those two worlds for kids and adults. I absolutely love that Lego.
Yeah, we actually took that one apart not long ago because we had that one, and the way that one opens up but still maintains its structural integrity is like that's got to be one of the best play sets they've ever made. Like, just so good.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great one for sure. Yeah. Let's see. We've covered a lot of the topics I had inadvertently now, but let's talk about Brickworld. So we started talking about the conventions you've gone to a little bit. Would you say, I've heard good things about Virginia, but would you say Brickworld Chicago is still like the I don't know, the holy grail of Lego conventions?
So that's hard because they're different. I mean, it's interesting because every convention kind of has its own personality based on like whoever runs the convention. And like Brickworld definitely, like if you're a content creator or you're friends with content creators or whatever, Brickworld really embraces that. Mark does a great job like embracing the social media creators and really makes a very welcoming environment for that. And some of that is the venue. I mean, the venue there is killer. Having the hotel attached to the convention center, and like whoever designed the hotel and convention center knew what it was, right? Hotel and convention center, there's going to be a ton of crossover. And so there's a lot of like kind of public-ish gathering spaces, decent sized lobbies with couches and stuff where you can just go hang out, which is really nice. Cause like you'll hang out in the convention hall. Everybody's putting together their mocks, finishing them up, getting ready for display during the week. There's some games and things like that. But then like you can just go out and like chill in the lobbies, and like there's a bar and a restaurant in there and everything. So you just go and like hang out, chill out, and there'll be people in the lobbies there until like 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's what I've heard. That's crazy.
And so it is amazing for that. It feels like a professional networking event in all the best ways. And then Brick Fair in Virginia they're pretty similar size, both square footage and attendance wise. But it's got a much more, like I know Todd, the guy who runs it, and he's got a very, it's good enough vibe. Like it's a very like, you're kind of at home. He puts it on for his friends. Like it's huge, but he's like, you know, he's not working for a super professional, polished, like whatever. And so it's got a lot more like home, not that Brickworld is worse or Brick Fair is better in any way. Like I really like Brickworld. I probably slightly prefer it to Brick Fair, other than Brick Fair is like 40 minutes from my house. Yeah. So
that is nice.
But it's an awesome vibe, and my lug buddies are there, and he does a great job with games. Like Todd has tons of games and stuff during the private days for people to participate in, drafts and different build challenges and things like that. And so they're just very different with their personalities. My favorite shows actually are the smaller ones.
Like I've heard those are good.
I love Chicago. It's awesome. It's wonderful. I plan on going for as long as I can afford it and get the time off work and everything. But the one in Fredericksburg, there was like 200 or 300 attendees, and then the public came on the public days. But it was really intimate. like it was very small with 200 or 300 people. You could meet everybody there. We ended up, interacting with another lug. We ended up sharing kind of a display area with another lug and like made great friends there. And like, it was awesome. It was so much more low key. Cause like at the bigger conventions, like you have to work to see everything in 100,000 plus square foot display hall. Like you have to consciously go through and look and make sure you haven't. Even still, then every time like I go back and watch like the Beyond the Brick recap, and I'm like, where was that one? Like, how did I miss that one?
Yeah.
And so like the little shows, like you can actually go around and like talk to the builders more, and like it's a little more intimate that way. And then Brick Slopes in Utah, Cody and his boys out there, Brian and Craig, awesome show.
That sounds really cool. Yeah. Are you into skiing or snowboarding at all?
I used to be. I grew up in Colorado, so I did a bunch of skiing and snowboarding when I was a teenager. I haven't done any since I blew out my knee a few years back. So I would love to do it, but I know it's not worth the suffering that would come from it, not being able to walk for several days afterwards. So
I'm very into snowboarding. I've done it probably 6-7 years now. I love doing it when the seasons come around. So like the idea of like hanging out at a lodge and snowboarding all day and then going to a Lego convention at that night, that sounds like a perfect day to me. That would be so awesome.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's during the summer, so it's not ski season at the same time.
Okay.
But I mean, Utah's beautiful. If you do hiking or anything like that, like Utah is lovely. Not quite as awesome as Colorado, but pretty awesome.
Yeah. I've been to Utah too. They're both very nice. Yeah. My family is very big on traveling when I grew up. So I've been to 48 out of 50 states now.
Oh, wow.
So very fortunate there. I still got to hit Alaska and Washington though. So that upper left corner I have not quite hit, but
you made it to Oregon and Idaho, but not Washington. Huh?
Yeah. We had friends out in Jackson Hole. So that was kind of how we hit Idaho. And then I was born in Arizona. So we'd always do California trips, and Oregon just kind of happened to get hit on a road trip in California. So that's awesome. Just waiting to hit those last two. But there's actually, I for some reason have ran into a lot of Alaskan Lego content creators. I don't know why, but I just have. And a lot of them have been like people that have actually like DM'd me, reaching out on different apps like Whatnot, asking stuff. Awesome. And just, I don't know why it's Alaska, but maybe there's something going on there with Lego that I don't know.
I mean, during the cold season, what else have you got to do? I mean,
That's
you can
true.
go out and ice fish and stuff, but I mean,
you can only do that so long.
Right. Yeah. You can only stay out for so long, even with the best like thermal underwear, before you got to go inside and warm up. So,
you talked about it a little bit. I want to ask, so when you build mocks, is that usually like, do you take them to display at conventions? Have you done that in the past? And if so, like what themes are you usually basing it around? I know you touched on castle a little bit. Is that what you mainly do mocks of, is castle things?
So it's funny because I love to build castle stuff, but I have only displayed like a minifig habitat that was castle based. Okay. That's the biggest thing that I've displayed for castle. Yeah. I have displayed something at every convention that I've gone to, but I mean it's covered a lot of different things. Most of them have been for collaborations with people in the lug. Like we do an adventurer's labyrinth with like kind of the adventurers theme, Indiana Jones, kind of mix, whatever that people bring stuff for. And so I built stuff for that. We also, like I said, I've done minifigure habitats for those stacks before. And there's two different styles. There's like the 90-degree style that like kind of go off center. And then there's another way that has three sides. And so they kind of stack up like stairs.
Okay.
And I built for both of those styles, and I did castle ones for that a couple of times. And then my most recent one is we're doing a collaboration with the lug that's a waterfront, like a cool boardwalk. And so we did kind of a proof of concept last year, and it ended up being 30 feet long. So, I mean, it was big. And this year, so my section this year is 5 feet long by itself.
Holy crap.
And so
So are
we
you
have
guys going
about,
to beat that cyberpunk setup? Is that what you're trying to
so
beat?
that thing is no, like we did it totally independent of that. We actually started planning it before we ever saw that. And that
Okay.
thing is bananas. Like
Yeah.
I hope that if they do it at Chicago again this year, because they did it at Brick Fair, Virginia this year, but it was only a section of what they displayed at Chicago. But last year at Chicago, the barriers were like they had it in an X shape,
Yeah.
but the barriers went like in a square around the X.
Okay.
And so you couldn't get into those inner areas very much and like appreciate there's so much detail in it. So you couldn't see a ton of that stuff. But I mean, they do great work, Simon Liu and all the guys that are in on that.
Yeah.
Just it's gorgeous. But we purposefully, as we've looked at stuff, we're like, as we've talked about different collabs, we're like, we want to do something that other people aren't doing, you know? And so we're like, okay, we're mid-Atlantic, boardwalks are everywhere around here. You know, you go out to Ocean City or wherever and you walk on the boardwalk and there's all this kind of stuff. So we're like, it kind of fits with, and so this year we're looking at it being somewhere around 90 feet long.
Yeah.
Like it should be
gosh.
bananas big.
How many booths do you have to display that then? Is that at Chicago you guys are going to display that, do you think?
That one will be at Brick Fair, Virginia.
Okay, Virginia.
Yeah. Right. So we'll do a smaller one at Brick Fair, Fredericksburg, where it'll be probably a third of that size. But yeah, at Chicago or at Chicago and at Virginia both, they have basically like big table islands where it's like either a big U or a big like O or rectangle of tables and there's space in the middle. And so we like for the one in Virginia, we'll probably have an entire one of those that's like 35 or 40 feet on a side and then connects across.
That's crazy.
One end. So
when's that show?
So Virginia is the end of July, start of August this year. So the public days will be the first Saturday and Sunday in August, but it starts, I want to say, on the 31st for the private days.
Okay. I'll have to try to go to that one because I've heard really good things in that. To see that in person sounds really cool.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are like crazy builders around here, like you know, you got Rich Boy Jay will probably be at that one.
Oh, really?
And he does crazy Star Wars mocks. You've got Solid Brick Studios had his Geonosis there last year.
Seriously?
Like, yeah. And Empire Lug and Rebel Lug usually show up big there. So, I mean, and that's the great thing with the lugs is like you get a group of people and you like inspire each other. Conventions is every time I go, I come back and I'm like, all right, what am I going to build? Like, what can I do next? I saw all these things that were so awesome. And like, and it can be anything really. Like one of the ones that just blew everyone away, won an award at Brick Fair or Brickworld Chicago last year. There was this like 16, 17-year-old kid named Roldan, and he built a Black Knight or a Falcon Knight on a horse. Like he scaled it up and like sculpted a horse, and it was gorgeous. And it was funny because we were talking to him at the event, and apparently a Lego rep invited him to display it in Billings at the convention. Yeah, and he was like, he was torn because he's like, that's basically every piece of brown that I have is in that horse. And so, you know, you can be anywhere from like, this is everything I have to like, there's guys there with like 30-foot long castle layouts that they've been building for like 25 years. And it's like,
that's crazy.
So you have, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of pieces all the way down to like, this is every Lego piece that I have. And it's like 50.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm mainly sticking. I'm probably like that kid. I'm mainly sticking to smaller mocks when I build them now. I'd love to display something at a booth one day, but I'm not quite there yet. Maybe that'll be a 2 years from now type of thing. But
yeah, and it's definitely something to consider as you build. Like, do I want to display this other than like on my YouTube channel or to friends or whatever?
Yeah.
And what shows do I want to take it from? How far away are they? Because like I displayed at Brick Slopes last year, and it was 4 base plates, but it basically took up my entire suitcase to take that to fly out there.
Oh, wow.
And so you got to start considering. I know Shy brought 2 suitcases full last year with his Black Falcon Army to Brick Fair.
Jeez. Let's see, I think we might have lost Walter. Chat, let me know you think he's froze. Okay. Am I working fine? Let me know, guys. All right. You are fine. Okay. Guys, everyone in the chat, let me know what you guys are thinking of this stream. It's an amazing deal. I got an insane deal in October and picked up the 2 Wow, that is insane, Captain Cody. But yeah, guys, thanks for stopping by tonight. We'll keep going once he gets back in here, obviously. We'll go for probably another 20 minutes. So appreciate all of you stopping in. There we go. I think he's back. Is that working?
There we go. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, we can hear. All right.
All right. Yeah, my computer just like threw everything out. I'm like, what are we doing here?
That's all right. No worries. That's okay. Yeah, I was trying to figure out if that was me or them, but I guess it was yours. But that's absolutely
it was definitely
fine. No
me.
No worries.
So yeah, I mean, we were just talking crazy stuff.
Yeah, Mox. Yeah, that's awesome though. I'd love to get into that one day.
And I so one of the things about mocks, as you consider it, is like some of the small mocks are some of the most impactful because you have to be conservative on your space and really every piece counts. Not that the big mocks aren't impressive, but when you have 100,000 pieces in a mock, like
you can hide stuff a little more.
You can hide stuff and like you're not thinking as much about every piece. When you have a mock, like the micro scale cities and stuff, like where every single piece matters, super impressive. So, whatever way people want to build, and if people are just set builders, that's awesome too. But when you go to conventions, it's just incredible to see the variety that people will bring. And like, it's super inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited for Brickworld this year. I feel like it's going to be absolutely different in person, especially I've watched hours and hours of the Beyond the Brick TV covering it, and I feel like I'd only see 10% of it at that. And like the World of Lights, I'm really excited for it too, because I feel like the videos don't do that justice at all for what
Not
it
at
is.
all. Not even a little bit. Like it looks really cool on the videos and in the pictures that I've taken, but like it is a whole different, like it's awesome in person.
Yeah, I can imagine. It looks super cool from what I can see. And I'm like I said, I bet it's even better. So I wanted to transition. I have about 15 more minutes if that works for you.
That works for me.
About that. Yeah, I'd love to do this again, even if you want. I wish I could go longer tonight, but I gotta get to bed pretty soon. Sadly, I got work tomorrow. My schedule right now is a little wacky. I have to get up at 3 in the morning to work at 4. So it's like really early hours. It feels like I'm working third shift, but
right.
That'll luckily switch in the next few weeks. So just trying to get through that right now. But anyways, that being said, I want to transition to, I titled this Family and Bricks. So as I start to because I'm always asking people too for myself so I can understand. I like to get people's opinions because obviously this is an expensive hobby. I mean, I think anyone in the community would understand that. It's always one of my favorite things to see people say, I collect cars or stuff like that, and then make a joke about it, and then they show their Lego collection.
Right.
But for you personally, how do you balance your Lego collection for you personally and having and supporting a family? And not just the money side of it, but making time for it as well, because that's a huge thing that goes into it also.
So the time side has actually been one of the easier things for me because it's a great connector. Like my 18-year-old came down the other day into the basement and was like, I feel like building something. And so she just was building and sitting there chatting with me. You know, my 5-year-old, of course, is a Lego maniac. My 7-year-old and my 10-year-old really enjoy it. My now 17-year-old, both my 17-year-old and my 18-year-old, we got them one of the bigger cars, like one of them the Fiat and the other one got the Camaro for their 16th birthday. Like, here, we bought you a car. Like, and so, you know, they love to build, and they'll sit and like, and sometimes, just depending, you know, if we have a day where everybody's off work, sometimes we'll go out and do stuff, go to a museum or whatever. And sometimes we'll just bring out a bunch of pieces and pour them on the table and like everybody build something. And it's really been a great vehicle for me to spend time with the kids doing something that we're interested with. And it's worked upwards as well. So my dad has come out to visit. They live in the Mountain West, but you know, they've come out to visit a few times here and been like, let's build Lego with the kids. And so
that's awesome.
And so the last time my dad was out, he was like, I saw this thing, and it was a little like somebody built one of the cartoon characters from when he was a kid in Lego. And he's like, I want to do that. Like, help me figure out the parts for this. And I was like, oh yeah, I bet we have all those parts. So we went into our free play Lego and we built him that, and he took it home. And so now from time to time, he'll like text me or hit me up on Slack or whatever and be like, hey, look what I saw. Look what I'm trying to build. I'm like, excellent.
That's awesome.
So in that sense, like, Lego is such a vehicle for so many things. Like, it connects people. It's great for relaxation and individual, almost meditative time sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, for our family, we all build Lego. And it's funny because my wife, like, I got the Lighthouse last year, maybe the year before when it came out. And I was building it, and basically I just barely put the last brick on, and my wife came down and grabbed it and was like, I want to put this up in our foyer in our house. And it's been there since. And so it's like it's kind of a connecting thing. You know, we have family dinner together every night with as many people are as our home. Some, you know, kids' activities and stuff get in the way sometimes, but you know, it's another touch point. Like, everybody can go down and play Lego, and my teenagers will play with their little sisters and brother in the Lego room, and like it brings everybody together. It's a great vehicle for interaction. So, you know, for that one, time wise, now to do my own builds, most of my own like larger scale mock building definitely happens after the kids are in bed. Or at least
it's nice to have alone time for sure, though. Like, that's obviously something you always need in life. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I can be an introvert and an extrovert when I want to. So like, definitely just like nice to go into my own bubble sometimes, put on headphones or watch a show or a YouTube video, something, just build a set by myself. But like you said, that also justifies having a big backlog. So it's another way you can justify that. But that's great too. That's something I definitely grew up with, and something I want to continue with my future family, because like hearing you say that too is inspiring as well, because like it is a great medium, and we talked about that before, how it's like made for play and display. Right. So it's the best way to do that possible, to bring adults and kids together.
Yeah. And so really, I mean, kind of looking at it big picture with everything in a family, you have to look at it big picture wise, right? Because I mean, before, when I was in the Army and we were moving around, like the budget was smaller financially, but also the space budget, because we moved all over the place. And so like my Lego collection was tiny compared to what it is now. And I had to be really like selective about what sets I would get, because it was like, okay, a moving truck is only so big. We got to get everything in. And we moved. My two oldest girls were in 8 and 7 schools respectively.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it's like,
that's a lot.
Like, we moved a ton.
Yeah.
But like, so those kind of things, you have to kind of look at the big picture and like, what's our financial budget? What space do we have? And for a long time, my Lego space was basically about a 2 foot by 4 foot desk. that was like all the Lego space that I had. And then I put a few sets up on like a bookshelf.
Yeah.
But that was all the space that I had. And so that's where it fit. And then the kids had their stuff in other areas of the house as well. But it just the same with time. You got to figure out like, okay, what's my budget? Like, so I go to lug meetings once a month. We have an in-person lug meeting. And so my family knows like, okay, that's Lego day. That dad's going to go hang out with his lug friends. But if there's something important on those days, like my daughter's high school graduation was the same day as a lug meeting. So obviously that takes precedence, right? So you just have to kind of figure out where it fits in the grand scheme of things. And so, I mean, and that's kind of big picture relationship, parenting, all of that. You have to look at the big picture and you can use it. It can either be, I've seen people that Lego has ruined relationships. Those are pretty rare, but
that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I mean, I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. They're obsessed with Lego. Their budget, all their expendable income goes to Lego. And so and their partner doesn't value it at all. And so the relationship ends because of it, but it can also be that medium to bring you together. So really, and I'm lucky, like my wife not only tolerates my Lego hobby, but she participates in it at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm starting to get there with my fiance. We're slowly working her into the Lego theme. Her family has like no history with Lego, although her dad has he just randomly bought every sealed Monster Fighter set. So he's got all of those sealed in a box right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm hoping maybe as a wedding gift, I'll get that in my hands, but we'll see. But yeah, awesome. So I'm slowly working on the fiance. What I'll do now is I'll buy a Brickheads and I'll give her like Eve and I'll keep Wally or something like that. So that's been working pretty well, but yeah, hoping to keep that median going like we talked about. And I think what you described is perfect and how it should be done. I've seen the most successful people with it do it that way as well. So it's obviously super encouraging to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everything in life, you got to find the balance. You got to find where it works, and there'll be seasons as well. Like, I mean, I had a dark age. I've also had times when like work or whatever. There was a period where I was working 12-hour shifts, and so I'd go work a 12-hour shift, and the drive was an hour and a half away at that point. And so like basically I worked and slept, and so Lego didn't get touched for like a 6-month period while I was on that shift, and it was just like, okay. It just isn't going to happen right now.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, on that, I think we'll head out. If you have anything you'd like to plug for yourself before we kind of conclude this, I'll let you do that. Obviously, guys, go follow anyone rewatching this or live in the chat right now. Go follow him on his YouTube and Instagram. His great content coming out. I absolutely love his stuff, and I know you guys will too. But I'll give you a sec to plug your own channel if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Like I said, I got 5 videos out so far. I hit record for the first time in November. Yeah. And it's been a lot of fun. So at Waltherltd on YouTube or Instagram, feel free to subscribe or whatever if you want. Leave me a comment what kind of things you like or don't like about videos. I'm trying to learn. So, let me know which things are good to you or not. But, I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. And, you're the first one that's reached out and invited me to be on a live stream. So, this has been great. So thank you. Everybody, drop a like for him and make sure you're subscribed to his channel so that we can keep supporting him. Cause obviously you're going a long way.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
And thank you to everybody in the chat. Like you guys have had good comments and interesting things to say. So
yeah, you just got a sub from Scott Davis, so hopefully more to come. So guys, make sure you go check him out. As I said, again, I really appreciate your time and thanks for stopping by. This has been a lot of fun for me. You're my first guest I've had for a live stream. So this has just been a great way to start it. And I hope to have you on again soon. But guys, I've been Noah from Tiger Bill's channel, and this has been James from the Waltherltd channel. So make sure you guys follow both of us and stay up to date with our content. Until then, guys, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you around.
Have a good one.